the thing that we learned for the past decade basically is, these three actually relate to each other, and not only it relates, it really is like a chain. You have to have one, otherwise you won't have the complete cycle, right? And when it comes to content, this is from day one. There's no compromise on the quality and consistency, as well as the integrity of the content. This is something that I think was probably the toughest thing that we've done, where there's a lot of distractions out there. Competitors were raising tons of money and generating all these massive amount of content. uh, Disregard the quality. Yeah, but for us, like, can we do that? Because they're making lots of money from advertising, because they have huge traffic, and they have huge traffic because they have huge amount of content, and people are apparently reading it. And we, I think back then there was quite a discussion internally on the direction. Do we want to focus on the quality or the quantity? Where do we want ourselves to be positioned as a company, and of course as a player in the industry as well? And we decided to focus on quality, and we don't need to publish 100 articles a day, or set a minimum quota for our reporters and researchers. As long as the output is high quality, as a certain standard, we'll take that. And subpar content will not be tolerated, and it has to be consistent on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, even on an annual basis. We have a editorial calendar as well that we set up early in the year, and we try to stay true to that direction throughout the year. And of course, integrity. We've had some, like probably most of you guys as well, legal fights. A company that doesn't like our editorial pieces, or our opinions, or what have you, and threaten to sue us. And for us, that kind of reminds us that what we're doing is worth doing, right? So, and I think a part of that is really the anchor of all that is the belief that we're doing good for the community of people who see us as a source of information that is high quality and consistent as well. So we want to make sure that we don't deliver subpar content. We want to be consistent, but we want them to know that we're not going to, give you, a low quality article, or lie, or even, cover, the news for you for some company, and in exchange for convenience and stuff like that. So content has been uh, probably the hardest part in maintaining the quality, consistency, as well as the integrity. The community part is something that we never really look at for the first years of the company's life. Um, we know people are reading because we saw the statistics, and the Google Analytics number, but we never thought it was a kind of a community, community kind of company, until like 2014, where we started to do events, and people start to meet each other in our events, and do network and engage. And some of them ended up working for the other, some of them ended up being co-founders, some being invested by an investor that they met in our events and stuff like that. That's when we realized that, oh, this is a thing. And I guess it was mostly accidental, that in a way that we didn't plan to, we didn't have a plan that we set up, hey, let's build a community out of this thing. Like we didn't do that, but just happened to exist, and to be created. And I think partly the reason why, maybe this is survivors bias, but I think partly the reason why people are becoming a community is because the content that we create is, again, it's consistent, is integrity, it has integrity, and it is of high quality as well. So I think people are really attracted towards that, and seeing us as a platform to not just to consume information, but also to do more than that, do something for the industry. And having that kind of community really opened our eyes. Like, we should care, because although it was accidental, we have it now, and we don't want to take it for granted. So we've been doing lots of community events, and we didn't have a lot of money. We still don't have a lot of money, but we kind of tried to do our best in terms of accommodating when people want to meet up with each other, or if they want us to talk about a certain topic for our weekly webinars and stuff like that. But mostly we want to engage with them. We want to listen to them, because at the end of the day, we want to know more about the people who kind of shape us as a company. And these are not just readers. These are, the community of founders, the community of pre-founders, people who want to become founders but not yet a founder. People from the corporate company who is looking to the whole startup innovation type of thing, other media players as well, investor community, regulator community, and there's a whole bunch of different people with different needs and different objectives and different agenda. When they come to the event. But for us, I think the first thing we did was to map, like, who are these people. Make sure we cluster them well, and make sure we understand what each, what's the objective of each group, and how do Daily Social fit that in, like what's our role in making that engagement happen. And I think that's the key. When we decided to launch a new feature, we decided to have a new YouTube program, or a new product, or any kind of activity that we do as a company is based on this interaction. So it's for us, it really moves us forward as a company. And everything we do, basically, the community is the reason why. And I think that makes us I think that makes the community loves what we are doing. And we try to make sure as well, to for them to know that this is why we do it. We want to make sure that they know what our vision is, and how they became a part of that as well. And the last part is, I think, not just identifying and learning and listening and engaging, but involving the community as well. I think it's something that we do differently compared to other similar companies, both in Indonesia and outside of Indonesia. In lots of ways, we do different things, because we actually, we did extensive research on identifying their pain, and how can we make their in this particular case, how can we make their business go, whatever the business is, whether they're a startup company, or an investor, or a corporate company, or a government entity, like whatever it is, how can we help you, do your job better, or move you forward as an organization. And back then we learned, through I think it was a 3-year kind of process in finally understanding, like, oh, this is where we fit in. This is where Daily Social can come in and solve the problem. And it was a long process, and we did many trials and errors as well. We tried jobs once. Let's build a jobs platform and see how we can help them, because back then talent was a big issue. Until now, talent is a big issue in Indonesia. But we launched it, not much of a traction, so we shut that down, and experiment with a whole bunch of other things as well, until last year we launched the hackathon and incubation kind of platform. So this is basically how we monetize right now. And it's unusual as a media company, like, when usually media company try to make money from advertising and events and all that stuff. But for us, media is a medium, right? You wanna connect your readers to the people who wants to connect to your readers. That could be in a form of advertising, and I think that's the simplest thing you can do, just the form of advertising. For me, it's a lazy way to do it, because there's no it serves a very minimal value, and we don't want to go that way. We want to make sure how can we put up the maximum value on collaboration from each entity that is in our ecosystem inside our community, and identifying that. I think for the past year, we've been quite successful in engaging with the innovation community, that what we call it. And I think for the past few months also proven that you know our company survives, basically until today. We survived the pandemic at least, and we didn't have to fire anyone, we didn't have to lay off anyone, and we're still making a decent amount of money. It's less than what we expected, but can't really complain, considering all the bad things happening outside. So I guess that's the effort that we've been doing for the past few years, and um, the result of that, I think we're proud to say that we're definitely one of the largest tech-focused media in Southeast Asia in terms of traffic. Although we never considered traffic as our main, North Star metric, but profitability is. So we've been profitable since 2015 until 2019. This year we want to focus more on investing in the platform building that we launched. So, and plus the pandemic as well. So I don't think we're going to be profitable this year, but luckily we have enough cash flow to survive for the next few months, hopefully until 2022. And I think the single most important metric that we're very happy is we've delivered more than 50,000 research downloads. And this is important for us because this is how we assert influence. Media has always been about influence, but clicking ads, I don't think that counts as influence. But this is where we did a lot of extensive statistical research as well, and value proposition as well, how our research really shaped the industry. So we're now providing data to some of the government regulators as well, to make sure when they and this is not just for media industry, but for startup industry, e-commerce, logistics, everything. We provide data to them, and I have all these government people in high position, calling me, "Hey, Rama, do you have data, for this, data for that?" And then I would, pull them up off our database, and send it to them. And I think that's our role. That as a media company, we don't want to be sitting in the front row watching the game happening, and taking notes and publishing the news of what happened. We want to be in the field, actively moving with the people, and actively moving the industry forward, not just writing about it. So we want to be part of that history, and not just writing about how history happened. And I think that's basically it. The sharing session from me. I love to connect further with you guys, and if you guys have any question, would love to try and answer it.
Cool. I'll jump in with the first one. Thank you so much for that. You are far too modest, man, for the work that you've done in this space. Well, if you haven't noticed, good news. We got the camera working. All we had to do was reboot the A10 Mini. So lesson number one: always reboot.
A10 Mini.
That's right. Which will be up for sale soon after this on Carousel. Anyway, I think what's really interesting is that you are a B2B service. In many ways, we are a B2B service as well, right? And we started out also with the thinking that content was going to be the one that got us there, or the one that we would focus on. And over the years, we've also realized that content is just it's just a sideshow to the main act. And it sounds like you also kind of went down that same journey. But I'm most interested in your, when you talked about how you started to map the community, and that unlocked that, the value of the community for you. First of all, how did you start thinking about that? But secondly, also, like, what is your tech stack on that front?
Sure. So yeah, I think that's it took me a long time to understand what I did, what I needed to do. That the whole mapping thing, it took me a while to understand that, but it's mostly positioning myself as a startup company, like just, regardless the media or non-media part, like a startup company should really solve people's problems, right? And a part of, identifying which problem to solve is you have to have a good, clear landscape of your target market, and what the problems are, and how do you fit in with what you do best can really help them solve that problem. And I think that's just, the framework of thinking that me and my team did a few years back, and so far so good. And I always said that, my whole team, I always say that, Daily Social is a totally different company than we were 3 years ago, and 3 years from now we're going to be, totally different company. Who knows what we're going to be? And I have no intention of kind of foresee the future. I just wanna focus on solving problems and just grew from there. Um, and your second question is about the technology stack, is it?
Yep, that's right. How do you sort everyone into neat buckets so that you understand their needs better?
In fact, my next question was going to be about segmenting your audiences, but it would be great if you put a tech stack lens on that.
Sure. So we have a few. So we don't have stacking. We don't do stacking actually, because we found that all of the people that reads our website, they have mutual interest. That slice in the middle where it interests everyone, and that's innovation. So that's the silver lining, and we basically, they can read about the latest gadget somewhere else. They can read about what's the latest iPhone from somewhere else. And I think what they really, our community value us is that what's the latest innovation from Indonesia. I think that's the thing. And although it sounds very specific, I think we're very lucky because the industry grows really, fast for Indonesia. The interest towards Indonesia's tech industry, it's crazy. Like everyone wants to know what's the latest startup, who gets the latest funding, and being the one who reported that really gives us an edge of being associated with the latest up-to-date news, up-to-date data, as well as the knowledge of the overall industry.
So you're not, sorry, I can't resist a very quick follow-up. So are you actively researching your audience? Are you doing user research, or are you just kind of seeing how those buckets form with your content?
Oh no, we have a team of 5 data scientists building me a dashboard, basically to cluster each and every type of audience that we have, and we just launched a paid research and a paid article feature, I think 1.5 months ago, and that worked out really well. All those data that we collected for a year now, that really helped us to really know what kind of content that people are willing to pay, or at least what our community is willing to pay, and the likelihood of whether they're going to buy a certain research report. All those data really helped out.
Hey, Karin, why don't you jump in with your question? Karin's looking for her window.
The microphone, yeah. Okay, so first of all, Rama, I was just looking at your site, and it's the first thing that I felt was it's so relaxing. It's such a relaxing thing to look at because it's not packed with ads.
Thanks.
I think that's the first time I've seen a news site that doesn't just go, oh my God, stop. So just congratulations on that, because I hadn't seen anything like that for such a long time in a media, providing space. It's amazing. Look, the thing I was interested in asking you about was your podcast product. So I can see that you're up to episode 102, which is two things. Like, that's a big effort, so well done. But also that means you've been doing it for a while, and it's fairly new, I think, as a phenomenon across Asia. So I'm just curious to how has that gone, and particularly how did you get from early space launch to perhaps a community which might not have been habituated to listening to where you are now?
Yeah, the podcast is something that is very risky. That we did. We started the podcast thing almost 2 years ago. No, 2 years ago actually. Yeah, exactly 2 years ago. I remember it was August, so 2 years plus. And it was something that was pitched to me by one of our events guy. You know, we do these, offline events, right? Kind of a seminar, small seminar, a small meetup event as well, and that's recorded. That's streamed live on our YouTube account. And one of my events guys like, hey, Mas, before we start the speaking session, why don't we invite the speaker to come, to talk to us about a certain questions, just casually. So we have a pool in our office. It was just like a poolside conversation, very relaxed, very casual, and record it and upload it as a podcast. I mean, the guy's here anyway, so we'll take like 15 minutes of the time before the actual session started. So it was really a no effort from our part. And I was like, sure. I think the attitude for I think it becomes like our culture as well in the company. The attitude was whenever someone comes up with an idea is, let's try. We weren't going to be dismissive. We want to keep that innovation alive. We don't want to shut down ideas before we know whether it works or not. And I told him, sure, you want to buy equipments and all that stuff. I think I gave the guy a $50 budget to buy microphones and very cheap a subscription to Anchor FM, I think it was, or one of the software. And I give you 2 months, and if you can show me good traction, just continue. And this is a framework that we do a lot with all of our features or products. Here's a small budget, here's a small amount of team or manpower, and we'll give you a limitation of 2 to 3 months, and you have to achieve a certain amount of target. And when you achieve that target, let's continue. I'll pour in more money, give you more manpower, more resources, and then we'll continue and grow from there. If it doesn't meet the target, then shut it down, and no hard feelings. Let's come up with a new idea, whatever it is. And podcast is one of the things that worked out pretty well. I think now we're number 9 or number 10 on Spotify for Indonesia, the most popular podcast in Spotify for Indonesian market, which surprises me because I think the top 9, the other 9 was very relaxed kind of content, non-business, some comedy content and all these. Or one of it actually talk about yoga, meditation stuff, and we're the one there with that talks about technology and business. So apparently people liked it on Spotify. It's not my thing, to be honest. It's not my thing, but I'm not going to let that stop us from adopting new technologies or adopting to what do you call it, adapting to new kind of markets and new features and new mediums of content.
That says a lot for the culture in your company, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you really are building out culture in the way that you're as Corinne is saying, you have a building full of design sprinters. In
Yeah.
fact, I was telling Alan, it's like you've got this culture of product thinking, like just everywhere in your company, and that sounds really healthy. Dee from Plates Magazine has a question about time travel. Dee, you want to go loud?
Sure.
Is the mic
Rama,
working?
thanks for that.
Yes, it's working.
Yay. So I was wondering, because you said that the community discovery was a happy accident and that you only found out you only took notice of it maybe in 2014. What if, had you known about the importance of community back in 2008, would that have changed the way you ran DailySocial if you placed as much importance to your community and your content? Or looking back, would you just let it run free?
Yeah, I think it's not one or the other. You have to have both, in lots of ways. And back then we were focusing more on content because that's what we could afford. that we have the manpower. I think back then we had in 2014, oh well, in 2008 there was just me and my co-founder, basically just two of us. We were working full time elsewhere, and then 6 p.m. we'll start working on writing articles for DailySocial until 2, 3 in the morning, and then in the morning go to work, like usual. I think we did that for like 2 years until we get the seed funding in 2010. But back then we didn't have the privilege on focusing on both, and knowing that community was important. Which is your question. I think I'm still going to focus more on content, because at the end of the day, community is fueled with without a good content, without a good trust, without a good relationship, and our content basically builds that relationship, right? It was well, it's honest, it's unfiltered, it's very opinionated, it's of course it's backed by facts and numbers and data, and that builds a certain trust with us and and the people who reach us, and I think that creates a sense of community when other people came and talks nonsense without any data supporting facts. So that kind of becomes our community culture as well. So if knowing what I know now, I think I'm still going to be focusing more on the content side, and I think the community will kind of follow that. But I don't know if someone can come up with an actual time machine. I would really love to know, but yeah, it worked out pretty well for us.
Hey, Tahil, you've got a question.
Yeah, hi Rama.
Hi.
If I heard you correctly, I think you said you have a pool in the office. No wonder you could give up on display ads.
That's true. We have better things to look at.
I mean, if I had a pool anywhere, I would never touch a display ad ever again. But my question was related to revenue, because I think that sometimes we can knock ad revenue, and perhaps a little prematurely, and therefore my question was that what percentage of your revenue was ad revenue, and by stopping that completely, how else do you make money, and how do you see that changing as the years go by? For example, if you had like 10x traffic in the next couple of years, would you consider that shutting off the ad revenue engine in retrospect was a bad decision, because at 10x the traffic, the ad revenue would be substantial? Thoughts on that?
Sure. Back then, when we decided to remove the display advertising business model, display advertising was around half of our revenue. The other half is we do offline events and all that stuff. But even with slashing our revenue in half, we were still profitable because we have a very lean kind of operation, right? But mostly, my argument to the shareholders when we decided, as you can probably imagine, it wasn't a good discussion, and I had to really fight for this. But customer experience, user experience is also a part of building that trust to our reader that we are making money from advertising and content and all these stuff that's annoying to you, and by removing that, it's basically we're promising that we are putting you as our #1 priority, and we want to make sure that the experience of reading DailySocial is not going to be tainted with blanky stuff and all these GIF kind of content and all these annoying things that aren't really relevant, and also not a good user experience, and also it doesn't really work, right? The whole concept of advertising and the 0.8 CTR, again, for me, that doesn't make any sense. If the CTR is like 50%, then okay, that makes sense. You're achieving your objective of sending a message from advertiser to reader, because half of them click on the website, click on the ads, right? But industry standard is like 0.4 in Indonesia. So that doesn't make any sense for me. And I want to make sure that whatever value that I deliver to, to our readers, it really makes an impact. And back then advertising was not. Even though it had, it was like half of our revenue, it still doesn't make any sense for me. And I had to come up with a full projection, financial modeling for the next couple of years. How are we going to make money and all that stuff. So to answer your next question, if our traffic grew by 10x, that's good. But we're still not going to do display advertising simply because it doesn't solve our readers' problem. And most importantly, we are solving their problem in a more effective way using our platform and our other products, and we can make money from there. And it's already it's justified because we are already making money from all these solutions, and people are engaging, people are happy, even clients are happy because I can go to all these advertisers and let them put ads on my website, but they want to engage further. They want to engage, basically they want a better engagement, and advertising is not just going to do that. So we offer them something else, and it worked, and they keep coming back for more. So I guess it kind of, we just need to scale now. Now that we know that this business model works, now we can go 10x. Hopefully that explains.
Great, and good luck.
Thanks.
Hey, Rama, give us an idea of your revenue streams. Like, my hunch is that research probably makes up about 50 or 60% of your revenue pie. Is that accurate?
Yeah, around that. So research is now around 45%, and the rest is from the platform. We do hackathons online, we do incubator programs online, we do kind of corporate startup engagement online, and that's basically the majority of the revenue.
So help us understand the research component a little bit better. So in this case, you would work with, say, for example, a government, if they want to commission a report. So you would say, we will commission this for you, and we will guarantee clicks to the report. Is that how it works?
No, they want to know the number, and they want to know
just the number.
Yeah, they just want to know the number. And once we do the project with them, we would publish the research for free. Usually with government, they want to publish it for free for the good of the people. And the logo will be there, and sometimes that makes them happy, enough. It seems like they're actually working, spending good tax money on information. And we're happy because we're getting paid. But most of the cases actually comes from corporate companies who wants to know more about the innovation market, as we call it. They want to know, I think for the past few weeks, we have 4 banks that wants to know, we want to engage with startup companies, fintech, insurtech, all these companies that startup companies that can help us as a bank in terms of operations and acquiring new markets. So we did the research and basically identifying which startup companies they could work with, which startup companies they can invest in, and how those startup companies engage, and whenever they come up with a new product idea, what's the market's going to be like. We can benchmark it to other cases, outside of Indonesia, other markets, other countries. So we do that kind of research, and awareness is probably like 10% of those cases where we were commissioned by, like for example, we did a tech startup report where we basically summarized what happened in Indonesia throughout 2019. We published it in January 2020, and it was sponsored by one of the banks. I can't remember which one, but they paid us because they want to be associated with these startups, and they want, because it was downloaded by all the players, the startups, the investors, corporate, government, students. Everyone is downloading. Well, not everyone, like everyone relevant, right? The key players of the industry, the who's who, are downloading. So they want to be associated with that types of information that we presented on our research report. That's only 10%. The majority of the cases is they really want to know, and honestly, they could go to other companies, consultancy companies, research companies, but they don't know the tech ecosystem as well as we do. We know, basically everyone, and everyone knows us. We have good relationship with them, and we that kind of that level of network is built by the content, because you know like, for example, the CEO of Gojek, right? The CEO of Gojek right now, Kevin, they've been reading our content since 2011 when he was with Zalora, when he just came back from the States and worked in Indonesia. The CEO of Tokopedia, you know, back then we met at Starbucks. We would discuss about the industry, and been reading Daily Social ever since. And that's the kind of community that is associated with Daily Social. They started reading Daily Social back in 2010, 11, and now they're like, the leadership in all of these big companies. So that's the kind of community that we're very proud of.
Hey, I can see D is punching out a question right now. D, just ask, and this will be the final question for today.
Okay. This
Do
is
you
quite
get a
a
close price beta?
Hey. So Rama, early on you mentioned that you don't like doing a couple of rounds for asking for funds. Has it gotten easier? And how have you kind of talked yourself out of perhaps any self-doubt, or how do you go around asking for money basically? And is it second nature to you now?
Yeah, I mean, the two times that we were actually three times that we were actually funded, it wasn't me pitching a whole bunch of investors and basically asking for money. It was the people who find what we do valuable. Rama, we like what you're doing. Where are you taking this company? What's your vision? And then there's no pitch deck. It was probably over a lunch or a coffee or a dinner or something stronger, and we were just discussing, and they're like, hey, can I, would you open for an investment? It's like, by default, it's like, sure, as long as it doesn't take me, too long or too many efforts. The thing about fundraising is I can spend those exact amount of energy and time in closing sales to a client. It's basically the same thing, but I get money from both, but with investments you don't get to keep the equity. So for me, I'd rather closing clients than closing investors. Plus, it's a full-time job raising money, as Alan probably knows well. It's I don't want to dedicate 90% of my time fundraising and talking to raise money. I just want to focus on my community, my employee, my team, and of course my readers as well, my shareholders. I think that's the basic gist of it. Not that I loathe fundraising. I just prefer to do something else. And I think, closing client is a better allocation of time for me.
Rama, it's almost time to wrap this whole thing up.
Yeah, sure.
And when I say whole thing, I really mean whole thing. But if I could squeeze one last thing in, just literally to wrap up very, very briefly, I wanted to ask you about your roadmap, right? There's a COVID situation, and then there's a non-COVID situation, whatever those mean. Does your roadmap vary depending on this situation? And also, what is it looking like? What's next year looking like for you?
Actually, we were very lucky because we were pushing this whole online hackathon and online incubation program thing since last year, and now the company who were planning to do an offline hackathon and offline incubation program, they're forced to do it online. So it's basically it's a perfect timing for us. When it comes to roadmap, I think our main focus is on delivering that value, that same value, the same value proposition to all of our stakeholders, and doing it more efficiently, cheaply, faster, better, and all that stuff. And that could mean online, that can mean offline, whatever it is, we don't know. For us, our focus for the next year is just focusing on closing more sales and getting to basically promote our online platform to be more popular amongst, kind of the new normal type of thing. And when it comes to 3 years from now, I have no idea. And I tend to not to care about what, we're going to be. I mean, I have a vision, but like I think this year has proven to us all that you can have vision, you can have roadmaps, you can have all the projections you have in the world, and God will spit and laugh, right? So I guess it's something that I don't wanna take too much my time to think about the future, way ahead of the future.
Yeah, I like your honesty there. I think a lot of founders are often like, oh, this is where I think the future trends are and all that. And I think if there's one thing that came across in your session here is that you're saying that agility probably matters more than vision sometimes, right? And it sounds like you have the right
totally
team
agree.
with the right mindset to get you there. So this has really been enlightening. I really love the insights. Thank you so much. With that, we
Thank you for
are wrapping up the final Splice beta session.
This is it.
All of you have stuck it through.
I know.
You may or may not get a pink t-shirt. But thank you so much for all the support. So many of you have showed up every single day.
I know.
Janicia, Pat, Dee, Christine, Corinne, Lila, this has been so wonderful and so encouraging for us because we're also just testing this out as a format of sorts.
Yeah.
We want to see where this can go and what this community is willing to put up with.
And Janicia says she has a PhD in beta now. So
And that's right.
I mean,
exactly. Permanent head damage. Yes.
At least there's that.
At least there's that. We're going to be sending out a survey form probably next week when we get our act together.
68 questions.
That's right.
Big deal.
Exactly. But if you have gotten something out of beta, we would encourage you to record this in a voice memo and just send it off to us. Simple as that.
Yeah, simple.
Very, very simple. We would like to use this in an upcoming podcast series that we may or may not do. But yeah, like Rama said, the podcast thing could be something that becomes big. We don't really know. But if you're so inclined, please send us a nice message in a voice message format. We will run it at some point. And that's all we ask of you.
Yes, sing us a testimonial, D. Do it. And if it fails as a podcast, it might just fail. We'll just sit here and listen to all the nice messages and beep a little.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everybody.
That's a wrap. We're all done.
That's a whole month, and we are done.
Done.